Let's just think about politics for a second. I mean, obviously, when we talk about politics, we tend to talk about policy, initiative by governments on the one side and individuals, and on the other side we talk about accountability and responsibility. But actually, both of those things happen through the prism of personality, of the individual person. And I think we've got to bring that back into the argument. I mean, it's one thing to have aspirations and policies. It's another thing to be accountable in the creation and administration of those policies. But all of this happens through the mechanism of people. And the way they deal with conflict, the way they meet the challenge of personal responsibility, the way that they try to achieve their ends in relationship to others are very important issues. And I don't think politicians think enough about themselves and where they fit in as individual human beings rather than as cogs in the machine that will win votes, introduce and administer policy. All of those things happen in a world of conflict, of pressure. How they respond to those things is very important. How they manage those things is very important and can be the difference between success and failure. The policy may be perfect, the theory absolutely spot on, but the delivery imperfect because the personality is not capable of working in the real world situation.
So is it more finding the right leaders, or is it educating current leaders to be able to be congruent with the policies that they are?
Well, I think hopefully the accountability mechanisms will work such that those characteristics are given more emphasis over time because they're recognised to be important. But I don't think there's any guarantee of that. So I think there has to be a public debate about what a good leader is. I don't think we can just expect the normal processes of politics to throw up the right sort of leaders. I think we need a proper public dialogue and then use the results of that dialogue to encourage better outcomes from the political process. And that means better leaders.
And what do you consider as good traits of a good leader?
Oh, well, obviously I think there are the two parts there. First of all, the leader needs to be able to engage the community in and around aspirations for the future. I think the notion that we just sit where we are and we don't try and change the world, I think, we're letting people down. I think leaders have to go out in front and try to convince the people, so there needs to be a transforming element. But the second element of leadership is the management element. I mean, you still have to manage things. You still have to keep the ship of state afloat. You still have to keep people on side. You still have to be political. And that's both of those issues, I think, require management. I think we need balance between transformation and management. If we've got too much management and not enough transformation, well, the world stands still. If we've got too much transformation and not enough management, the change process collapses. So I think we need the balance between the two.
That's right. So if there's too much transformation, it becomes too chaotic because then it becomes too hard to manage.
And people lose their bearings. They feel uncertainty. People, I think, can cope with change, but they need to know that it's going somewhere and they're not going to be sacrificed in the process, and there's empathy towards their interests. Sometimes change processes can get out of hand, and many political leaders have fallen. They've had great ideas, but they just don't succeed because they're incapable of bringing people with them. So leaders have to have, the skills of what we might call transformational leadership, but they also need all of those transactional skills related to the management of any organisation, or in the case of politics, the management of politics in the nation.
Thank you so much for that.